Allison here, and today is Wildcard Wednesday. You know what that means? That means I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. Now, in fairness, most of the time I don't. But when you know your material, it doesn't matter. You can just spew stuff. And because I work with people, I have stories to tell. And this is my world. Now, I have been talking about this book. Those of you following along, you know I have 3 keynotes this week, which makes me so super excited because I just love speaking. And so I've been talking about this book already twice this week. Oh, not the book, the content in the book, obviously. When he hires me for a keynote to talk about my book, but content in the book. So I think we're going to go to this book today. Change of pace. We'll go back to my old school. From business cards to business relationships, personal branding and profitable networking made easy. And for those of you who know the Wildcard Wednesday, here's what happens. We pick a topic just like that. Following up. So business related, obviously, because of the book. And it's all about following up. I love it. Okay, let's remind me of what I used to talk about when it came to following up. See, it's hard with these old books because I don't talk about this stuff as much. I mean, I still have some clients who hire me for the business networking, and I do love it when I get to do it. I mean, the principles stay the same. The tactics, of course, change when we're, as society progresses and as we're very virtual, as you know. So let's talk about this. And, it's interesting because a follow-up, like if you look at a relationship, the introduction is not the relationship, right? And we figure out, like in the world of business networking, is like a lot of people focus so much on the initial interaction. How do I meet that person? How do I, get to the meeting, right? Or how do I reach out on LinkedIn? And what we really need to do is we need to spend more time, I think, nurturing the relationships and the people who we've already met and whom we've already connected with. And that's where the follow-up of, going through. So let's create a little mini agenda so that we have a plan here. So I think the first thing is, how do you follow up? When do you follow up? And I don't know, maybe that's sort of it. Actually, we'll even start with why I think sometimes people don't successfully follow up. And I know they don't successfully follow up because I'm human and I have failed in follow-ups over the time. So in this case, do as I say, not as I do. Although sometimes I'm very good at it, as we all are. And then, but I have had so many, I don't know if you've ever had this happen, times when I've been at events and I'm talking to somebody and I'm like, oh my gosh, you sell that? Oh, I really want that. And I will literally say, I will buy from you. And they never follow up. And I'm like, why? Now, I don't sure, I could reach back out to them. But the truth of the matter is, I don't actually think it's the buyer's responsibility to reach out to a business owner to say, hey, I want to buy from you. If they don't care enough when I've said, I want to buy, to actually follow up and reach out to me and say, thank you, let's make that happen, then why do I want to chase them for the business? And maybe I'm saying, yes, I want it because it's kind of a cool thing, but I don't really need it. So then you're, talking about discretionary spending, which I'm not going to go out of my way to do, right? But if it's something that I really seriously need, then I'm going to go with the most convenient option, right? And this is where I think, the follow-up is all about the convenience. So, making it easy for somebody to buy from you. So if I say to somebody, look, I love you, I want to buy your stuff, let's do this. I probably don't say I love you. I mean, fair enough. When I first meet them, hi, nice to meet you, I love you. That would be very awkward. I don't know why it came out of my mouth. How not to network. Anyway, but I love your product, or I really would like to figure it out. And then they don't actually follow up. It's really, 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 really frustrating. And so I've been on the receiving end of it, and I've done it where people have said to me, oh, let me know about this. And then I don't follow up. So I think one of the reasons we don't follow up is maybe a confidence issue. I think the second reason is because of just being too busy and not I think the third thing is we forget. I know that's it for me. Like I'll go to an event in the old days or do something, and I just like I'll throw away a line that is, oh hey, I'll send you that, or yeah, let's talk about that, or let's get together, or whatever, and then you just kind of go on to the next thing. And if you don't write it down or capture it somehow, sometimes those follow-ups get forgotten. And so I really do my best. I mean, we all like make mistakes, right? We're talking about follow-up here. I'm being transparent that I'm definitely not perfect. But I used to be a lot more diligent, right? Like I taught networking, right? That's why I wrote the book on it. So I used to be a lot more diligent, and then I've sort of slacked off on it over the years. So, but here's some things I think, the numbers. My friend Lori Hawkins, who's a great sales trainer, she told me once. So I used to think it was like, 7 touches before somebody will buy from you. And then she and I were having a chit chat one day, and this was quite some time ago. And she goes, Allison, it's 21 touches now. 21 touches statistically before somebody will buy from you. Think about that. Like 21 times they need to interact with your brand. And so what are you doing to keep top of mind so that they do it? And I am going to give a shout out to someone who is a master at follow up. And I don't know if she's a master at follow up with everybody, but definitely a master of follow up with me. So Chantel, who I'm gonna pull it up here and see if I can get like how long she was thoughtful about following up. There she is. Okay. So Chantel McGuffin Phillips is her name. I'm just looking for dates. So that's August 2021. But she had originally reached out to me are you ready for this? 12/7/20. Is that? Yeah, holiday season. So December of 2020. And in August, and I said no, I didn't want to buy. She sells Melaleuca, which has different house care products and vitamins and all of that kind of stuff. And so in 2020, I was like, no, I don't really need to be a part of it. Like, I just don't need anything. I've got tons of vitamins. I have like the people who I go to, and everything was fine. And then she was diligent, right? Like she would reach out every now and again and just touch base with me and all of that. And then lo and behold, in August, I happened to have been looking for a new vitamin. Like I needed vitamins. And she followed up again and she said, I said, I know you said no back then, but I'm wondering if anything's changed, if you want to try your products. And I was like, yeah, I do. Sure. And so this is the power of following up. Because I think one of the reasons, like I remember I said originally, the different reasons why people don't follow up, a lack of confidence. I think that people think a no to begin with is a no forever. And sometimes it's just a little shift. So I've had people where I've tried to sell to them, and when it comes to my speaking work and everything, and they're like, no, it doesn't quite fit. And then all of a sudden something changes. There's a conversation, and if I weren't top of mind, I wouldn't get that gig, right? And so I think we have to keep going. In actual fact, I just spoke for Canada Life earlier today, and one of their organizations out of Winnipeg, and absolutely loved it. But like I've been working on trying to get into Canada Life to do my resiliency work for years, and I have committed to consistent follow up. And every 6 months, like I just reach out, like, hey, is now a better time, blah blah blah. And finally somebody called me out of the blue, right? But it wasn't out of the blue, it was because the follow up kept going. So I guess I am good at follow up with some things. Yeah. Oh my goodness, there's chat and I didn't see the chat. Oh, look at all these great chats. Oh, and I missed it. Okay, here, let's watch these. Okay, so who we got here first? Greg is the first on the chat box. Good afternoon, Allison. Watching you live on YouTube on the big screen. Very cool. You should, oh, you know what you should do, Greg, is take like a picture of you watching me on the YouTube on the big screen. I've never seen myself on a big screen. I would love to. Hi, Doug. Awesome to see you. I have run into the same thing as well, where people do not follow up to arrange purchase details. Right. Like, how is it possible? And Doug, I know you have dealt with so many business owners. Maybe you have a reason why that actually happens. Sorry, I'm just getting caught up on these things. Alternatively, I had 2 vehicle dealers who did a great follow-up to the extent they drove to my business with a new vehicle I had described wanting. One was a car and the other was a $100,000 truck. With that initiative, I could not turn them down. What a great example. And I wonder, like, is it because in car sales they're so focused on sales and they know they're selling, and that's why they did that above and beyond? Also, that's out in Woodstock, right? I wonder if actually, I'm curious. Are you in? Was it a Woodstock dealer or a London dealer? Because I wonder if a city dealer would be that thoughtful. I'm really curious. Mm. Sarah, I remember way back in the day, you taught me about the right and left pocket. One for mine and one for theirs, and how important it was to make notes on their cards when I got home. I thought it was good at it. I thought I was good at it, but you taught me so much more. Okay, so now that you let that cat out of the bag, oh, actually, no, I'll write it down so we stay focused. Uh, the pocket and the flip. Suspense. Suspense, people. Yeah, Chantel McGruffin Phillips is awesome. She totally sure is. Yes, in Woodstock, right? So great example of follow-up, car dealership, work in the work. Yeah, love it. And like this effort of following up over time, I mean, it does take guts, right? Like, and I just had a sales meeting with an organization out east. And the person who introduced me to this person, so the referral, came from someone who for years I followed up with when he was in a different role at a different company. And it just never clicked, right? It was just never the right conference for me to be a speaker. Just didn't happen. And then he moved, got a different role. I followed up, said, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, how are you enjoying it out on the East Coast?" And we had a great conversation, and he ended up introducing me to someone. And I literally just hung up the phone from a sales meeting. Again, follow up, so critically important. And as I'm saying that to you, I'm inspiring myself to be really good at following up lately, because I see all these really great stories that contribute to it. So the following up, how do we do it? Right? So why we don't do it, I thought I'd start with. And then here's the thing. When we are with someone is the best time to determine a follow-up. I remember when I was doing more on this business work, right, and teaching that, the biggest challenge, so I'd get into a room full of advisors or business owners, and people would say, okay, we got to follow up. But then, like, what do I say in the follow-up? And I'm like, here's the thing. The best follow-up is the one that is expected. So if we have to like manufacture a reason after we've met somebody at an event to create a follow-up, and then we send, oh, hey, it was really nice to meet you. Here's my information. If you ever need X, let me know. Not an effective follow-up, for the record. Like, we're really not going to stand out. So I think the best follow-up is the one that is expected. So how would we do that? When we're at an event together or talking, it could be a virtual event or we're on social media or whatever, then we want to drop what we're going to do while we're actually there. And so that follow-up really becomes about fulfilling a promise instead of manufacturing a reason to reconnect. Okay. So that has been a really effective tool. So you want to be in the conversation that you're having with someone, thinking in the back of your mind, not in a distracted way, but like, okay, how do I plant the seed for a follow-up now? So that when I get back to my office or I'm doing my follow-ups, I actually have a reason to do it. So Sarah earlier talked about the idea of the pocket. So I totally forgot about that. You're right. It's because we haven't been at networking events, right? Like I haven't had to use this in-person stuff. But when you get a business card, the idea is you want to look at it, right? Read it. And then you have two pockets or two sides of your purse or whatever. And if it's someone who you need to have a follow-up with or is like a really priority contact, it goes into one pocket. And if it's someone who there isn't an absolute reason to follow up, put it in the other pocket, right? Because sometimes if we get like we have too much on our plate and we have to go, okay, I've got time to follow up, but I only have time to follow up with 3 people, but I collected 10 cards, you want to be able to prioritize who are the people who I really need to start with. Okay, another trick that I used for a lot of years, and I still do, is when we get a card, oh, a card from Mucho Burrito. Okay, when we get this card, we want to, if it were somebody's, I just would like dog ear the little side. And then when I go to my purse and I grab all the cards, then I would look for the ones that are dog-eared. Because if there was dog-eared, I made a promise to do something. And so those I have to like think. And if I forgot what I said I'd do, I would pull them out and I would send the person a note and go, hey, I totally promised to send you something. What was it? Right? Which is a great follow-up because then you're just authentic and you're you. So I think that that is a really great way to follow up. All right. The other thing with a follow up is you need to have a system. So, what is actually, I was working with a client a couple weeks ago. I don't remember, it doesn't matter. But there are follow ups for me. So, I am talking a lot about networking and sales follow ups, but there's also follow up for our clients. And so, when we do follow up for our clients, I find this with a lot of advisors, actually, specifically. And what will happen is you have a meeting and then all the greatest intentions, right? Like I've got this to do, this to do, this to do, this. You got all these things that need to do. But then you go back to, or like you go back to the office, or you go on to another meeting, or you just get, distracted doing something else, and your days are already booked. And so all of this booked time it's really easy to not have any time to actually get the follow-ups done. And so the recommendation that I've been making lately to people who find themselves in this position is you want to have, like, let's say you have an hour and a half client meeting because you're going to go to their house and you're going to visit and you figure it's going to take that long. So an hour, hour and a half. Whatever time you have there, whatever your average level of follow-up, in this case, I'm going to say an hour and a half. When you book the client meeting, you automatically book in your schedule within the 48 hours following another hour and a half to activate all of the follow-ups. And then it is booked right then and there. Because if not, that's when you end up spending your time at 10 o'clock at night trying to get caught up. And nobody wants that. Unless you love working at 10 at night. Sometimes I get inspired. But generally, if I'm doing something at 10 o'clock at night, it's probably because I have taken a nap in the afternoon and not done something at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm being honest, right? I probably am not working straight through, truthfully. Anyway, so those are some ideas about following up, which is a fun Wildcard Wednesday topic. Anybody else have tips and tricks they want to share? You might have ideas on how to really be great at follow-up. Oh, the other thing I didn't talk about is you got to figure out a way to track them. So, if you're using a thing like Salesforce or some other customer relationship management electronic tool, I think like a lot of people will use too many automatics, right? Like here's my 20 things I got to do for this client to follow up. And every meeting I go to, then it creates a list of, all these different tasks. And that automation actually, I find, ends up getting what's the word I'm looking for? Ignored, right? Because if there are too many tasks and not all of them are absolutely critical, chances are you're not going to do them all. And so then they sit there and they sit there and they fester, and then they add up, add up, add up. And then you end up with like this humongous list of uncompleted tasks that are never going to get, or incomplete tasks. God, what was that? Grammar. All these incomplete tasks that are never, ever, ever going to get done. And then you never start, you stop going back to the list. So if that's not working for you, which my experience is for many people, it's not working, then we got to find a way for you to track them. And, whether it's using an electronic system and you put them into your calendar. One of the things I do quite a bit is I actually put things into my calendar. So I can, like, if I say, okay, in 2 weeks from now, somebody's held a date on my calendar for, a conference in May. And 2 weeks from now, I need to follow up because I either have to release the date or lock it in. Then I put an appointment time in my calendar for the follow-up. So the really, really important ones, they go right into the calendar. Now here's the clincher. I don't put, how you can choose if it's free or if it's like busy time or tentative in Outlook. I put that it's free so that it's not like my follow-up is not going to interrupt with the opportunity to book another meeting. But at least I know it's in on that day. So then when I'm looking at my task circle and I'm figuring out my priorities for the day, that becomes one of the priorities. Okay. So this has been a Wildcard Wednesday with the wild topic of following up, which is so critical in our business lives, but also in our personal lives, right? Like going, okay, who are my friends that I haven't talked to in a while? Who could I proactively connect with? What sorts of ways can I follow up with them? It's really important. Yeah, there we go. Love it. I love getting to do this Monday through Thursday. Just riffing on stuff, hopefully inspiring you to do something for a reset for today. Oh, Sarah's got a comment. I think you are following up. You need to keep adding value to connecting for each you. Yeah, just not the same stuff over and over again. I totally agree with you, Sarah. And it's hard to be creative, right? But I also think we have to just be transparent. Like with the speaking, I'm not the most creative follow-upper, and I want to be a little bit better. And I think I'm trying to not think I am. I'm trying to come up with some strategies where I can be like serving an executive who would be a decision maker to send them something that would actually help them have value, right? So I think my LinkedIn lives may be not effective to send because not everybody wants to watch and join me for 30 minutes, right? I don't know. But I think maybe like an article or some more written stuff that might be good. And then add value to your point, Sarah. Like we sometimes have to get creative to build that relationship. But I also believe in transparency. And most people who are hiring me, I probably, and for most of you, it might be the same way. But a lot of us, like, people don't necessarily want the creative. Like, it's just like, I'll just say, hey, look, are you planning any events this quarter? Right? Or is it time now where your team, like, how is your team doing? If they're really struggling with burnout, I'd love to be considered for your next event. Let's do something together. Like the programs are gonna, so I think there's a balance between being creative, and then the timing is like, you've got to figure out what your cadence is, right? Like, when does it make sense? Is there a time when, is there a time that makes sense? So for me, like, I kind of have an idea. I don't always know, but I try to keep track of when does somebody have, when do they have a conference coming up, or what's their annual conference, and then when do they start planning the annual conference. So I'll put that note in my CRM, which is really just ClickUp with ideas in it. So yeah, I think, but this whole concept of adding value is, I think, really, really important, because it can't just be like interrogation. Do you want to buy my stuff? Do you want to buy my stuff? Do you want to buy my stuff? But using Chantel's example, and actually, let me just explain tell you exactly what she said. Where'd it go? She said, I know you said, oh, I already told you. She said, I know that, you weren't interested before, but I just wanted to check with you. Is now a better time? And I was like, by golly, yes, it is. Thank you. And by the way, they're vitamins I really enjoy. They're very good. They don't make me nauseous at all, which the ones that have like fillers really make me nauseous. All right. I think that's it. I've got a call in 3 minutes, so I got to go. And I hope you have had a beautiful day. And if you didn't have a beautiful day, I hope this serves as your reset so that you can now like be here and go to the next part of your beautiful day. And if you've had a great day, I hope it just keeps going. And until tomorrow, oh, you know what we're going to do tomorrow? Oh, super excited. We're going to go over the book 75 Hard. Yep. I am in the 75 Hard challenge. And let me tell you what day I'm on. I am on day 27. So I'm going to talk about it. It's going to be a conversation about mental toughness. And you know how I hate mental toughness. It's mental discipline. Anyway, I hope you have the best rest of today and that you stress less, do more, and be happier. Bye for now.